Hello everyone, it is Cara and welcome back to another video. This video is going to be a witchy video. I've been interacting a little bit practicing witchcraft and paganism since I think it was January 2016 is when I really started to get into it. Recently, given everything going on, I have actually started actively practicing a lot more. I used to do stuff before, but this year is when I've really started actively trying to do spells and things like that. So I bought a bunch of books. Here they are, and as you can see, like a true nerd, I've got all the sticky notes inside of them, and I just thought that I would go through all the books that I've read so far and let you know which ones I liked, which ones I didn't, which ones I think are useful. Granted, I have 4 years of experience before I read any of these books, so the stuff that I perhaps thought was just general knowledge that my brain didn't register, that actually for someone who didn't know anything about witchcraft, they wouldn't know. So yes, this is what we're doing today. Okay, this first book was pretty good. You can see I've got lots of notes in here, although there was 1 or 2 things that were closed oh, that earring fell out. There's lots of different versions of spells, so there's oils you can make, there's baths you can have, like baths with intention. Intention is when you are trying to bring a change. So for example, you just start a new job and you want to be successful. You would put the intention and the manifestation into that succeeding. It's like putting your thoughts into actions kind of thing. That's what intention is for someone who's a baby witch. Here's a money bath on this page. As you can see, I'm like, I need the monies. I haven't done any of these yet, I don't think. I've done a few of my own spells, but I haven't done any of these ones yet. And the thing is, when I do eventually do some of these ones, I will alter them because you should put your own mark on a spell. So as you can see, it's got smudging and house blessing. You might not be able to see that. I don't know if you're blurry or not. But it says smudging. And smudging is you can cleanse your house. Cleansing and smudging are different. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of it because I don't fully, I know the difference, but I don't know how to explain it, if that makes sense. But smudging is Native American indigenous practice. You should not be smudging, especially with white sage. Do not use white sage. It is sacred to the natives in Native America. There's a lot of history. Don't use white sage. Any other sage is fine, just not white. I see you. Smudging is specifically native, and that is a closed practice. Therefore, I crossed it out and wrote closed. There's 1 or 2, I think there's another instance where they use a closed practice, but I can't remember off the top of my head. They've got tools, different tools you can have, building an altar. You can see they've got the pentagram here, then they've got what different colours mean, what the different elements mean. It's really detailed. It is a very good book for beginners. You just have to watch out because there's a few closed practices in here. The next 2 I'm going to do together because they're pretty identical. There's Wicca crystal magic and there's Wicca herbal magic. I am not Wicca. A lot of the books that you'll find will be Wicca books. There's not as many pagan in general books as there is Wicca books. Look into both before you decide what you want to be, if that's the path you're looking at. I always think of Wicca and general paganism almost as if within Christianity there's Catholicism and there's Protestantism, and within Protestantism there's sections. I kind of think of them like that. So it's obviously the same umbrella, but Wicca's different to paganism. But they overcross and they're still useful books. For the herbal one, it's just herbs that I like and want to start using, and just so I remember kind of what they are. And then what I've also done is if something's extra important, I've got the ones up here so I know where it is, and then the point in the text that I'm looking at, I've also put these little things because I already have a lot of knowledge. So I think that's just the mental reminders for me. I don't think obviously most people won't need to do that. So these are pretty standard, pretty useful for general basic knowledge. So even if you're not going into the Wicca subsection of magic, I would suggest these 2 books. I would recommend them. They're very useful just for general knowledge. The next one is this book. It's Pagan Paths. This one personally, I did not think was fantastic. I wouldn't recommend it personally. The only thing that I kind of liked that I'm looking into further is type of magic. Intuitive, transferent, ceremonial. There's different types of magic. This kind of has this page that I only have the 1 sticky note with the little sections that explain kind of how to do, like here, like we've got chaos magic, it keeps going, but I only needed the one sticky note because that's the only section that I like needed. Some of it is a lot about like the history of Wicca. As I just personally didn't engage with it very well. And then I think again, there was things where I was like, that's closed. But this book is nearly 20 years old, and you know. The early 2000s and the 90s weren't known for being super progressive, so personally I would not recommend this book. I mean, it looks beautiful, I love the cover, but that's not why you buy a book. Yeah, for me it wasn't very useful. I wouldn't really recommend this one. Next is this one, The Green Witch. So this one, again, you can see there's lots of sticky notes. It depends on what type of witchcraft you're looking into. If you're looking into being a green witch, then this one is definitely a purchase for you. Let me refresh my brain. Okay, so it talks about working with the elements a little bit, which you can find in most books. I wouldn't get this just for that. It goes into, similar to the herb book, it goes into different flowers and plants, but obviously in a lot more detail than the other one. This one goes into different flowers. So, you know, here I had roses and violets and tulips and poppies, things like garlic and mint and ginger and what they do. Then it's got yarrow and moss. It does mention stones as well, which I was surprised at with it being the Green Witch book. It also teaches you how to make certain types of incense. Candles, I think it does as well. Different salts, from bath salts and oil blends. I think a lot of them mention drinking tea and like using this herbs. So especially if you're looking into green witchcraft, I would recommend. If you're not looking into green witchcraft, there's plenty of other books that have the bits at the end. A lot of these books have teas in them. A lot of these books have how to make candles or incense and things like that. So unless you're interested in like the nature aspect, using more than just herbs in your craft, then I would say this isn't for you. But if you are looking into working with nature a lot more with your craft, then it's a good book to read. But it's one of those where it's very good, but obviously it's very specific. A lot of the stuff that you can use generally without being a green witch that's in here is also in most of the other books, or a lot of the other books. So if you're looking into green magic, very good book. Otherwise, it's good. It's not going to be like you need to read this, it'll really help you, but it's good, you know. This one, again, it's very niche, but if you are empathic, this one is so good. You can see again all the different bits. So I am extremely empathic, and I thought I was pretty empathic, but there's like a test in here and there's different side elements and things, how to use it, how to protect yourself, how empathicness works with friends and relationships and all that kind of stuff. I found out about this book through Chaotic Witch Aunt, who is a TikToker and a YouTuber. So I will leave her YouTube channel in the description downstairs. So this one, if you feel like you might be empathic, this is the book for you. It's very useful if you're looking into that. Right now I have crystals on my person. I'm also in my house, so I don't need to be veiling. I don't always veil when I go outside. I kind of balance between like having an army of crystals with me and veiling, and then if it's going to be like a really big day, I kind of do both. I have been feeling a lot of America's stuff recently. That's been fun. But yes, very good book for empaths. For anybody else, I mean, it says it on the tin, like, it's for empaths, but it's very good. Next is A Walk in the Pagan Path. So this one's probably a very similar one to this one. You know, it kind of gives you like some basic information about different subparts of paganism and Wicca and things. This one I think does a better job, although heavily Anglo-Saxon based, because the author is an Anglo-Saxon pagan. And he even says that himself. He's like, there's, you know, anyone who's read my other books knows that this is the practice I use, so the mug. He knows, like, he mentions it throughout as examples and things when he's talking about multiple cultures. This one, out of the two, as you can tell, I would recommend this one more. Again, it goes through some general, here it's got familial spirits, it's got daily devotion, a sacred calendar, so it talks about the sacred calendar, and it's like a full chapter, so it's a lot of detail for you to understand it a little bit more. Yeah, so this one, especially out of these two, I would recommend this one to newbies. Now, this last one. I had this book in England. A lot of these books I bought, I think all of these books actually, I bought in Japan, except for this next one. And this is the only one that I'm showing you that I haven't read all the way through. This one is Monology, and it's the working with the magics of the lunar cycle. I think it's good if you can wrap your brain around it. So it's got things like the moon phases, which is super useful for baby witches and everybody really. It just gives you like what spells are good for what time of the moon and things like that. I think what it is with this book for me is I start reading it, and the beginning I know, like through 4 years of just general knowledge, I know. So then I try and skip because I'm impatient and I want to be able to get on with it. And then I get to like these kind of pages where it's just like charts, and I'm like, what the hell does this mean? So I'm struggling to get through this one. It looks like a really good book. I just need to like accept that I have to start from the beginning and work my way through because it has some mathy type elements to it. Just like, yeah, so here it's like Aries or Aries rising in the first house, new moon Aries in your, it's just like, it's a lot of like information at once. So I do think it is a good book from what I have read on and off of it, but I find it challenging to get into in the sense of, but again, it's like here, new moon manifesting, and it goes through like the basics. There's lots of useful stuff in here. There's just certain parts of it that to me are very difficult. Although I say that, for example, here it's got new moon in Taurus, and then it's got like things that you can do during that time that are more likely to work. It's got like character check, make a financial plan. So this one, I don't know if I would recommend it because, as I say, I've had it for quite a long time and I haven't been able to get through it without my brain hurting. Maybe it's for a more intermediate style pagan. I think this one I wouldn't recommend for a baby witch. I think it's a bit too much information all in one go. There's a lot of useful stuff for baby witches to like start getting the hang of the moon, but then it's got a lot of divination type, so this just makes me think of Harry Potter, where it's just like 9th house, 8th house, 7th house, 4th house, 3rd house. If you're good at the astronomy aspects of witchcraft, then it's probably going to be really good for you. I'm not so good at the astronomy aspects, which is probably why I struggle with this one a little bit. I need to brush up on my astronomy and like what moon's in what house, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's this one. And yeah, that's everything.